we use Teams for work, and so I'm so much more used to that platform by now than Zoom. So,
Yeah.
So you went into the office. That's exciting. So
Yeah, I felt like I was just here last night because we do Zooms on Sundays and Wednesdays for our class. So we were here till 8 last night. So
okay. And did you have a full turnout this time around?
yeah, I had 30 people. So
Good job.
yeah, thank you.
Pretty cool. And so I was kind of curious, like your curriculum and stuff that you're offering. How did you decide upon that? Was it more just like, this is what we feel like people need, or?
Yeah, so what happened is, I did DNRS, I did Gupta, I did Primal Trust. I went through all those, and they all seemed very cumbersome. And it's great. I'm friends with Dr. Kat, who does Primal Trust, but they just felt so overwhelming when I tried to do them by myself. And, I'd been in the Lyme community for a long time doing advocacy and stuff like that. So I knew a lot of people. And I just kind of got out of all the Lyme groups and searched for people that were getting better. Like that became my sole focus. And we found Joe, the guy that I do this with, we found 4 commonalities in all people that got better. And obviously there's massive overhaul in diet. Movement is key. We believe in yoga and walking. We now lift weights, which I think is so vital in the overall recovery of your body. And then, meditation as a form of neuroplasticity. That's where we create our new life inside of our mind. So we say dream big. The only limiting things that we have in our lives are the barriers and fears that we've put there. So we can do whatever we want in life. There's no limitations at all. The only limitations that we have are fears that we've put. And then the next step would be is facing those fears. Every single day we have people face fears. So we've kind of dumbed down a curriculum. We've been kind of like the anti-curriculum. We give people a routine that they're supposed to do every single day. And we tell them if they follow it for 30 days, you're not going to magically get better. This is hard as hell. This is work. Healing is tough work. And I think that unfortunately, so many other programs make it seem like it's this magical experience, and it's not. It's hell. But the outcome is such a beautiful thing because you become a different person on the other side. So developing what we call our 4 pillars just kind of came after talking to all these patients of people with chronic illness that had gotten better. And they had, not all of them did neuroplasticity. They might have subconsciously in some form, but they all 4 did those 4 overhauls. They began facing fears or creating a life and going back and living instead of laying on the couch all day. They changed their diet. Exercise was a great part of it. And they started repairing their mind, instead of operating in a dysregulated nervous system in a state of fear, anxiety, I'm so sick, I'm never going to get better. And I'm in all these support groups all right, I'm going to leave all that. I'm grateful for what I have. I'm practicing gratitude. And then just from there, we don't inundate people down with the science, but we provide it like, hey, look, there is science behind everything that we do. This isn't woo-woo nonsense. This all makes sense. And this is how people have healed since the beginning of time. So that's kind of a long-winded nutshell of our anti-curriculum type deal. So
Yeah, well, cool. It's very beautiful. And I think having gone through it and knowing how much work it really does take to have something that's very simple to plug into, that does hit on those 4 concepts and those 4 areas of opportunity, as I call them sometimes too, that we all have, whether we're sick or not, kind of a thing.
Right.
I think a beautiful thing for people, especially in this community with our brains when they're broken, to like really be able to grasp a lot of things is hard. So
yeah. Oh yeah.
that's
Definitely.
awesome. And then I guess to back up to, oops, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say that, and I think another important part of what we do is when you go into healing alone, it's for a lot of people, they have no choice, but in the class, we pair everybody up. So everybody is with someone. And the analogy that I use is, it's better to heal with someone that holds you accountable. Like, are you getting up? Are you walking? Are you meditating? Are you doing the work?
Are you alive? Are you breathing? Did you remember to eat today? Like that would be fantastic.
Right.
Partner
What
for
we've
that.
seen is these incredible friendships, like best friends form in these classes that we have, people flying over the country to meet their healing partner. And the idea is you don't have to like the person that you're in the boat, but you're rowing towards your health. And if only one person rows, you're going to get in circles. So if you guys support each other, like you're there for each other, you hold each other accountable, that the success rate of healing, like in this type of work, is so much higher than if someone tries to do it by themselves. So the biggest thing is just cultivating a community of people that, and I'm still healing. I think that healing is a constant journey. Like I'll forever be healing, knowing that I had a chronic illness and knowing that I have to be mindful and watch what I put into my body, both into my mouth, into my mind. So it's been an incredible journey. And I want to thank you because you were one of the ones that I saw that was every single day. I remember watching you do hot yoga, like consistently, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and you stayed consistent through it. And I know it must have been incredibly hard to do that. And you might not have known, but like I'm watching that, like knowing that you were sick before, like, wow, she's really doing this. This is inspiring. And that's kind of where I drew inspiration from, is watching other people heal publicly. And I believe that that is the last part of our healing equation, is when we begin to heal in public so that other people can see. It's one of the most vulnerable things that we can do, for one, and it's very difficult to put yourself out there in the beginning, but you know, you never know who you're helping. So you definitely had a profound impact on my desire to get up off the couch and begin healing. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Like that just touches me so much in so many ways, and I'm just so grateful, because that's really my intent. Like, it is kind of weird sometimes when you're putting yourself out there and you're like, blah, 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 but you don't know who's listening, you don't know who's watching, you don't know who you're helping. And my intent always is, even if it's just one other human that I have benefited, so be it. And so thank you for sharing that with me, and watching you transform and seeing you come to where you're at today has been absolutely beautiful. And thank you for making a safe space for people like us to get better, and for having thought of such a good thing. I mean, honestly, to have someone to partner with is perfect. I'm thinking about so many people that I talk to constantly, like a lot, to help them. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna send them over your way, because it would be so nice for some of them to have an accountability person, you know, and that's just such a good gift that you're giving to people. So keep going.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And what I was gonna do earlier was just, again, to take a step back for a second and give you a real chance to introduce yourself, because we sort of jumped right into it, but just for chance, I do put this into podcast form for viewers and listeners to know exactly who you are, what you're up to right now. If you wouldn't mind sharing that, that'd be awesome, Josh.
Yeah, of course. So I'm 43. I live in Florida. Thankfully, I love it down here. I moved from the DC metro area. Before I became sick with chronic Lyme, I was a senior engineer for the federal government. Fell sick, have a super long story like most people do with chronic illness. I have 4 kids, and now as I'm healing, the idea of creating the Healing Dudes was to heal with other people, and have just seen profound success in my own life and in the lives of people that have joined these boot camps. I'm not soft in any sense when I help people heal. I am literally the proverbial kick in the ass sometimes that people need. And my partner that's on the other side, he's more of the soft, you know, rub your back. I'm like, all right, I'm going to yank you off your couch, because sometimes that's what people need when they've been stuck for so long. You know, they don't need someone to coddle them and, you know, make them feel comfortable. So like, hey, look, do you want to die living on your couch? Like, do you not want your life back? So I'm definitely very aggressive in my approach there. And I think that's where Joe and I balance each other out well. But we got started out of illness. It's crazy. So even 6 months ago, I was suicidal. I didn't think that I'd ever get better. I'd been sick with Lyme disease for 17 years, chronic fatigue syndrome, MS, like you name it, whatever, multiple chemical sensitivity, mold, whatever label that now I know it doesn't matter what the label is, we're able to heal through all of it. Joe, I'd known in the Lyme community for a long time. I did a lot of advocacy work. I started the Mayday Project. We worked on Capitol Hill, fought the CDC, IDSA. So I was ingrained in the Lyme community, and it became my identity. And I now know that that is such a toxic thing. I want to be as far away from any illness and identity from that as possible. But I met this guy, Joe. We'd known each other for years. We would sit on the couch, FaceTime, whatever, over a period of 15 years. He'd gotten better. He relapsed after getting COVID, and we just kept in contact. And he was in the same way. He was in a really dark place, and we just kept trying all these different neuroplasticity programs, and nothing would stick. And he was like, bro, you know, I'm out of money. He had an expensive flat in Northwest DC. He was an art director for Google or some other company. He's like, you know, I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. I was like, dude, come down and live in Florida with me. It's beautiful down here. It's a great place to heal. I'm struggling. And literally we started our healing journey together. We're like, all right, let's do this, whatever it takes. Let's get better. Let's either like, you know, get better or die trying, whatever it takes. And we started taking walks and meditating and really dove deep into not just neuroplasticity, but healing in general. And he has his master's in nutrition. So my diet's always been clean. But I mean, at that point, we literally just went through, I did some fasting, I did a couple other things. And before we knew it, we were starting to make progress. I mean, at my worst, I couldn't get out of the house. I was full-blown agoraphobic, anxiety, depression, cardiac issues, you name it, like I had it. And we started seeing progress. And what we would do is we'd meditate together. And at first we're like weird. I was like, dude, I don't want to meditate with another dude in a closet, but we started it. We would go into a closet, we would literally sit down and we would begin to meditate. And then out of there, we just started writing stuff on the walls. Like we didn't make a vision board. The inside of my closet became a vision board of us writing stuff down. So out of meditation, not only did we see ourselves healing, we saw ourselves creating and cultivating this community that we now have. And now we both have a calling. It's crazy because we both lived in the same places, but never connected till we moved down here. And we both feel called to help people heal. And the dynamic and balance between the two of us has been absolutely incredible. Like I said, he's a little on the softer side. I'm a little more abrasive. And, you know, we said, hey, let's heal with other people. And we started the first couple classes, and literally we announced it in a week and it booked up to 30 people, and we comped everybody in, and we're now on our 5th class, and every single class is sold out without having to advertise at all. So we knew that this was our calling. But what's incredible is we don't just feel called to this. We're opening a cafe and this all came out of meditation and healing. And I believe when you heal, you become a completely different person than you were. And that's definitely the case for me. I'm definitely not who I was, but opening up a safe place for people can eat that have dietary restrictions. There's clean food. It's an epicenter at the community for people to be able to do yoga, sound bowl healings, meditation, stuff like that. So really trying to make it a hub in the community. And we're also developing a line of protein bars that are all clean ingredients and stuff like that. So all this crazy stuff has come out. So 6 months ago, there was no office, there was no healing dudes, there was nothing. And as we began to heal, and this is one of the things that we tell people, is you have to have a magnet that pulls you out. You have to have a reason as to why you want to get better. It's not a spouse, it's not your kids, it's not a significant other. It has to be something that you create for you, and it has to be big. And when you begin to dream big and begin to pursue it, you start to experience happiness and joy. And we've noticed that as we did this, things just literally start attracting to it. Like we had not advertised at all, and it's been successful. And I think that it's simply, you know, God, the universe, however people want it. Like we suffered for so long, and then we invested through meditation and then worked towards a goal. And I'm 6 months in, we're sitting in our office, we're developing the protein bar with a co-packer. You know, we're looking at real estate to open this cafe. So life is great. I'm still healing. I still deal with some DPDR and some other symptoms, but I know that healing's not linear, and that it's going to be a continual journey. So yeah, I appreciate you letting me explain that. I tend to be a little long-winded.
Oh my God, it's beautiful. I'm like sitting here beaming from the inside out. I'm just so happy for you and Joe. And just like, I remember talking to you many times, like not many, but like a couple times, you know, throughout, and just my heart would always be sad because you're so sick, and it's hard to make someone do it themselves.
Right.
What you're touching on is like, somebody's got to really want to do it for themselves. And I'm not trying to undermine the people that are genuinely putting some work in and trying, and something about just really sincere focus and intent, I think just really is what is the ultimate like switch to start going up again, you know?
Yeah.
But I'm just like honored and humbled and just so grateful that you found your way through that darkness, because it sucks in there. And,
Well, and I want to echo again, like I appreciate, because I think I've messaged you multiple times asking you how you got better and like I was so hopeless. Like the problem was, is I didn't believe in my body's ability to heal. I hoped that it could heal, but there's a big difference between hope and belief. Belief spurs us towards action that actually helps us heal. And sometimes when I sent you excuse me, messages, I was frantic. Like I was, I see you, I knew that you'd been sick, and now I see you healing, like in public. And like I said, you'll never understand the profound effect that has on people when people start to heal in public and give people hope that spurs them to the belief that they can actually heal. So
yeah, and so it's like, I'm just sitting here thinking about it. It's like, that's why I want to do this. Like what I'm doing, the silver lining, is like to give people hope. And again, hope gives others the courage to heal, right? And so publicly putting these stories, I'm like, oh, perfect, you're healing people. You can send them to me, and then I can interview them for the silver lining, and then we'll just have this perpetual story of just healing and sharing that. Like, it's just so huge and valuable. And I guess sometimes I maybe, like, I don't know if I don't see myself in that equation quite right, because like I craved others that were getting better, and like I don't know, I don't put as much value on myself. So like, again, thank you for saying it, or like sharing it gives me like inspiration or whatever. Like, keep going.
keep going,
sharing.
because I mean, your videos are great. Like I would just encourage you to just keep posting, keep putting your message out there. I know that it can be discouraging sometimes when things just don't pop and you're like, this is great, I put so much effort into this. But even if you're helping 1 or 2 people, and those 2 people go and help 5 people, and those 5 people help, we never understand the chain. Like I said, without you knowing, your videos were instrumental into me healing. I'm sitting here watching you go into your blow up hot yoga thing that you had at your house, and I'm like, dude, what if I just did yoga every single day? And I started doing chair yoga, and then progressed into yoga. And then I was like, she's in incredible shape, she's eating great, she's living her life. I was like, I want that. And what I started to do is then begin shifting my focus from all these people that I talked to that were inundated with symptoms and new treatments and chasing different rabbit holes, to now I started to look at people that were actually doing the work. And you were one of those. So like I said, keep doing what you're doing. I don't think that it's in vain. And eventually when it catches, I think that you're going to be surprised at, you can tell the energy of people that are called to do this. And clearly this is your calling and you're authentic to it. And I think that that's really, really big.
Yeah, thank you. And vice versa. Like, I just want to give you a big hug, because I know you understand it, and I just value you very much, and thank you. Yeah. So we've touched on a lot of the questions that I've got that I standard ask people, but I just want to quickly look at my list, if you don't mind, and make sure that we go through everything, because
yeah, of course, take your time.
Okay. So you had talked a little bit about how long you were sick, and like, when did you, again, like, if you could say, like, I know you said you had a lot of different diagnoses on the way, but like, can you just kind of go over your story a little bit more with how you got sick? And
yeah, definitely. So I've gotten sick in 2006. Like I said, I was an engineer for the federal government. I had poured myself into my career. I thought that's what life was about making money and climbing the corporate ladder. And at 26, I made senior engineer. So I came from not so much of an affluent background. Like, I raised a lot of cane. I was pretty wild growing up. And, I pumped a lot of effort into being successful. And I remember I was at the office working one day, and a bunch of my guys got reamed by a general, and I sent out an email. I was like, hey, look, guys, we're gonna go all play paintball, we'll take off some aggression on each other, So we did. We went, and I got a tick bite in Loudoun County, Virginia, right outside of DC, which is an endemic area for Lyme.
so you knew you got bit.
Yeah, I knew I got bit. I had gone to the doctor, assuming that it was Lyme, because I had this weird flu in the middle of the summer. I was so sick I couldn't even walk, and it basically took over everything. And after 2 weeks, what had happened is everything went back to normal. So I didn't really think about the actual symptoms or anything. I did go to a doctor quickly to get tested. Naturally, like we all know, Lyme tests are basically a coin flip. So it came back negative, and I was fine. I had taken a job in Raleigh, North Carolina, and had a house built down there. It was just a place that I wanted to live. I just had a son. This was in 2006. And I just wanted to be in the area. It was thriving. It wasn't the city that DC was. And I was in my office one day, and it just felt like the world was closing in. And what I now know to be derealization, depersonalization started setting in, and I had a full-blown panic attack and passed out in my office, had to get pulled out on a gurney at 26. Real fun. And all the jokes that came from my coworkers and stuff was, and I mean, I was eating like trash. I mean, I was in great shape, but I was eating McDonald's every day and sweet tea all the time and just not a care in the world. And I woke up in the hospital, and I remember that moment that I woke up in the hospital there in Raleigh. I was down there by myself, no family, no friends around. My brain didn't feel the same. I felt like I was on an acid trip. That's really the only way now I know how to describe it. Like I was disconnected from my body. And from that moment on, going all up to about 6 months ago, that feeling was consistent. It never left. I always felt out of my body. There was never moments of clarity. And from there, I tried to work, going back to work, for 2 weeks, and I just couldn't do it. I kept having panic attacks. My heart was palpitating all over the place. I was weak. I was fatigued. I kept going back to the doctor. They said, oh, it's just anxiety. Here's this med. Here's this med. And naturally, I trusted doctors. I thought that they knew what they were doing. And I was taking all these psychiatric medications for anxiety, depression. I kept going back. They're like, your blood work's fine. I was like, well, I feel like I'm dying. Like literally, I can't get out of bed. And they're like, you're 26. I played in an adult men's league basketball. I would run 3-4 miles a day. I'd still smoke cigarettes, which was terrible back then. And then I'd still go out, and drink, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So, I mean, I was still very much a young 26-year-old, and I didn't have any issues at all. And now I could barely get out of bed. So I had to have my parents come down to Raleigh, North Carolina, put me in the car. I couldn't drive. And they took me home, and I laid in bed for a month, just going from doctor's appointment to doctor's appointment. Went to John Hopkins, Mayo Clinic, anywhere that you could think of. And they're like, your blood work's fine. You're okay. You're just overworked. You're anxious, And that process went on to eventually the point that I ended up having to go on to disability because I couldn't work. I tried to get into the car. My last day at work, I took my old job back. I go out. I only drive manual. I couldn't remember how to put my car in gear. And then once I did, I drove around my work building parking lot for 10 minutes trying to figure out how to get home. Mm-hmm. And it was at that point that I realized that I was in no state to work. So when I went on disability, I went down, depressed. I was no longer affording my salary. So my townhouse in DC was up for foreclosure. I've raced all my life. The 2 cars that I built, I'm watching them get repossessed. Like literally, I'm losing my life right in front of me, and I couldn't get off the couch. Like I literally physically couldn't. And as time went on, not only did I become sick, I became agoraphobic. I couldn't talk to people. I couldn't be around people. I couldn't go to the grocery store. I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything. And it gotten really bad. So naturally, like most people, I began to question my life and why am I here and why am I living? And just down every single rabbit hole. Well, is it mold? Well, is it multiple chemical sensitivity? And then I started seeing alternative doctors. And then about 3 years in, I'd met someone way before Facebook existed back on MySpace that said, have you been checked for Lyme? And I said, yes, but they're like, did you try the ELISA? Did you try the Western blot? Like, what did you? So I went and tested, and naturally my Lyme labs came back and lit up like a Christmas tree. So I went down the rabbit hole of trying to find the right LLMD, and I went to Dr. Jimsick and all the best Lyme doctors, but I didn't get better. I got more sick. And I had a PICC line, and I did SOT, and I did hyperbaric, and I did all these different treatments, B venom therapy, and I was still sick. And it felt like I was getting sicker to the point that I am literally laying in a basement of someone else's house, not sure how I'm going to get through the next day, sleeping 18 hours a day. I couldn't tell you what year it was, who the president was. I was on Lamictal, Lyrica, Ativan. Dr. Jimsick had me on a whole myriad of disgusting medications, and I didn't know who I was. And I mean, literally just sinking deeper and deeper and deeper. And this went on, till probably about 2013, 2014. My oldest son happened to have a viral moment became super popular on the internet. We were on Sports Center, talk shows, and I got to actually begin sharing my story. And it's crazy. Like, I'll have to share the video with you. It's like 36 million views on YouTube.
Oh,
But
wow.
yeah, so the Golden State Warriors invited us out for my son to do the halftime show, and it just went stupid viral. And I was so sick at the moment, but I started to realize, hey, look, I can still live. When I got back, I developed neuropathy from the waist down. So nothing worked, absolutely nothing. So as a younger male, I'm like distraught. My legs didn't work, like nothing. And I'm in a wheelchair. So I had to have my son homeschooled to take care of me because my disability didn't cover a home healthcare nurse. And here's this guy helping me get to the bathroom, bringing me my food, my medication. So we became incredibly close. And I wanted to live enough to be able to give him a life, but it still wasn't enough. So again, I'm still seeing all these different Lyme doctors. I'm trying all these different natural things and pills and supplements and fad diets, and I'm still sick. I had no hope. And then as I, kind of fast forwarding to now, like I got involved in Lyme advocacy. I'd lost a friend to Lyme that ended up taking their life. And I was sick and fed up that we didn't have answers, and marched on Capitol Hill and, would protest at the CDC and IDSA, and just never felt like I was making any headway. And ultimately got to a point where I just burnt out. Like, I had nothing left. I would go from the couch to the bed, to the bed to the couch. And that was my life. And it wasn't until, like I said, about 6 or 8 months ago that I really decided, all right, this is it. Get busy living or get busy dying is a quote that I use often from the Shawshank Redemption. And I use the movie as a reference because I've created my own prison, my own cage inside my mind. I have told myself what I'm capable of doing and what I'm not capable of doing. And once I began to challenge those beliefs and this fear, I started to see progress when I started to walk. And it's not like I started getting up and walking miles. No, I touched the stop sign at the end of my street, and then I'd go a quarter of a mile. Then I'm going half of a mile. Then I'm walking 2 miles a day. Then I'm back in the gym lifting. Then I'm doing yoga every day. And it's not easy. It's not linear. It is literally like this. It is a roller coaster. There are bad days that you want to quit, but I didn't give up. I stayed consistent. I dug into support that I knew cared and that was healing as well. And this is where I am present day. Like, I wasn't driving. I wasn't going to stores. Now I do all that. I live a normal life. I take trips. I do all that. I still have some, lingering symptoms, but I fully believe that they'll go away. So for anybody that gets stuck and believes that they can't heal, that's 17 years. And that's the light stuff. I don't include the cardiac ICU stays and all the times I was stuck in the hospital where they couldn't tell me what was wrong with me. And literally that's it. Once Joe and I really went on this healing journey, we realized that this is the way. And I saw other people healing this way. And that's where we felt compelled to share. All right, look, we feel like we found the answer. We can't sit on this. We want to help people because it's the same for every single person. There's no person with chronic illness, anxiety, depression, or even people feeling stuck in life that this does not help if they're consistent and they do the work. So
Very well said. I wholeheartedly agree with that. And I'm thinking about the energy that you and Joe created in the closet together to heal. Like, do you feel like that amplified your healing time? Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, because there was two of you multiplying the energy.
Energetic level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's funny because he moved up to St. Pete. He's actually sitting over there now. He just walked in the office, but he lived with me for a while, and it was great. Like, we would get up, and that was first thing that we would do is we would go for a walk. We held each other accountable. And we would go in the closet. We have these meditation beanbag things, and we would sit in. At first, like I said, it was weird. We're like two dudes sitting in a closet meditating. We're not gay at all. And we always have to preface people that because, like, you're going in a closet to meditate with another, it doesn't matter. But yeah, I felt that a lot of the visions and a lot of the things that we've come up with in terms of business, in terms of healing, definitely came when we meditated together. Joe, you would say that those
Yeah, for sure, man.
definitely more powerful meditations. And we've realized too that when we meditate with our class, there is an aura. I don't know how to describe it. I'm not like a super spiritual guru, but like when we take all 30 people, we did it last night, and when we meditate as a class, there's just an ambiance that I can't quite describe. There's a power, and you really feel compelled to action, and not just, obviously there's the calming effects that come with meditation, but we believe that meditation should spur you to action. Like we don't just use meditation as a moment for calming. We use it to focus on what we want to do in life and pull what's in the subconscious to the conscious mind, and focus on it. Like we want to come out of meditation spurred towards action. We don't want to just meditate and think about how today is going to be a great day. No, we want the power that we feel in meditation, because we have had some really powerful meditations, and that's literally everything that we've created from this point has come from that closet. So yeah, I definitely think that there was power in meditating together. So
yeah, I think about it a lot, and I use a lot of that myself, and just healing and picturing and thinking about and feeling and just trying to generate. I was so convinced that I was healing, there was no stopping me, and it was just, again, like picturing it and thinking about it. But when I meditate in a group setting, like it's just a completely different transformative experience. It's very powerful and potent on its own, but like with other people, for some reason, it's just I do just feel a lot more of a pull. So that's pretty cool that you guys were able to do that together.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you for sharing your story too. That's I think about, it was 7 years for me, and like I was very close to wanting, like I thought about killing myself a lot too, and like 17 years, like not that it's comparison or anything, but it's like, oh my God, like you poor thing, like but you're finding the silver lining in it. Haha, can't help it. I'm sorry, I put a plug in where I can. And just turning it into something beautiful and good, and seeing the positive. And I mean, it is a completely transformative experience. Like I'm not the same person that I was. I look at pictures of myself and I'm like, who was that? Or sometimes even now I'm like, who are you? Like, this is a completely different person. And you have to change down to the core. Like, strip away all of your beliefs, all of your thoughts about things, all your belief in Western medicine. Like, it's unfortunate that didn't fix you, but it's a good thing that you're able to figure out a different way, and that you're able to teach other people that way, and how passionate that you are about that. That's just, it's awesome. This is so enjoyable for me to hear about this. Okay. So I think we kind of touched on that too, like what helped you heal. We just talked a lot about that.
Right.
When did you know you were going to get better? Was that as of like this 6-8 months ago that you were just like, that's it? Or were there moments before that you can remember that you were like, I know I'm going to get better. It's just got to manifest itself a little more.
Yeah, so it's funny, like Joe was in pretty dire straits. Like when he came down, I think we both made a decision together, like I said, either get busy or die trying. Like that's we were going to get healthy or die trying, and that was the mentality. But we weren't dying, and that's kind of the problem. That's why our bodies were so reactive, is we're telling you're dying, you're chronically ill, you're chronically ill. We're sending that message to all of ourselves. So of course you're going to feel like absolute garbage all the time. But I think when we made a conscious decision to heal, I told myself that I couldn't hope I was going to get better, because I'd hoped for years and years and years that I was going to get better, but it didn't do anything for me. Like hope does nothing at all. I catch a lot of slack for this. Unless hope spurs you towards belief, hope is garbage. It's empty. There's no substance to it. But when I actually had the belief that I was going to get better, that meant I was going to do the work. And once I knew that I'd committed to doing the work and making this a lifestyle shift, knowing that I was changing my habits, routines, rituals, who I was as a person, I knew at that point that I was going to get better. So probably about 6 months ago and just to see the progress that I've made in 6 months, from going from not driving to not going to stores to not traveling to not doing these things, or having to have a safe person with me to do them, to now, like, I mean, there's not very many limits on what I can do right now. So there's no limits. Any of the limits that I have now are work that I have to still work on. And I mean, I'm still work on progress, but I feel like in 6 months, I'll be exponentially a different person than I am right now.
Good catch, Josh. Because that's what I was going to say. You've got no limits. Look at you go. And how is your family feeling about this? Like, I mean, are they in shock? Are they like?
It's been interesting. So the family dynamic, I have 4 kids and I'm married, and obviously chronic illness destroys relationships and marriage. She's stuck around, but she's exhausted. It's been 17 years. You know, when I wasn't able to work, she had to go back to school and do all this stuff. So yeah, they're definitely surprised. But the great thing is my family never stopped believing in my ability to heal. They knew that I was strong. They knew that I was resilient. I had to believe that I was strong and resilient because I was always strong and there for everybody else. I'd always emptied my cup into everybody else's. Like I would always make sure everybody else was right. And then I'd give myself the leftovers. And then I realized that I have to be my priority, and that it's not selfish to do that. But yeah, no, my kids are awesome. Generally, you know, during the week, I go to the gym in the morning 5 days a week with my oldest, and then I go again at night, and they're seeing, you know, me have more energy than I've had before. Like occasionally once or twice a week, I might go in there and grab my son's rebounds or something when he's shooting basketball, but that was it. But now I'm going there, I'm playing with him. I'm going in there to lift, you know, I'm doing that stuff. So they're really, really, really surprised. And then I'm so overcommitted now that I need to figure out a way to calm down my schedule, but I'm coaching my youngest's basketball team, and then my oldest, who's going to play in college, I'm coaching their team, and we're traveling all over the country because they're playing in front of college coaches. So if you would have told me 6 months ago that I would have been doing all of this, like I would have laughed. I would not have thought that it would have been possible. So they've definitely been supportive on the journey, but they're definitely surprised by what's happening. I don't think that they thought that a business and all this would come out of what we were doing. So, but I think for the most part, they see a different person now. I was very somber and just melancholy and just not the person I am now. Now I have my days, I think we all do, but knowing that I can turn a switch to get back there because I am in control of my brain, and understanding that was super important.
Awesome. I just listened to a thing by Louise Hay, and she was talking about this. Like, I mean, anyone could say it really, but it's like the one thing we have control over is our brain, right? Like in our mood and the way that we feel, and that's the one thing that we can control. And so it's really up to us to make that decision and that choice. And
yeah,
that's huge. And I'm just picturing so much what you're saying about hope. And it's not that hope has no point or purpose, but like right. There is a major difference between hoping to get better and believing and like knowing that you're going to get better. Mm-hmm. And I see it as like hope is maybe like 75% of the way there, but you're still kind of like floundering to get to where you have to go to make that full connection, versus actually like fully concrete believing and knowing is like right. That solid connection to the energy to get better, get well. And so that's a great thing to just keep trying to explain to people. I don't know how you really like, sometimes I feel like it's hard to conceptualize those things for people to actually feel them, to know what you're talking about. But right. Once it falls into place, it's like, aha, I get it. I see this so much more clearly about what this person was talking about. And I'm so excited for you that you've found that space, because it only gets better, and you can only just get that connection stronger, right? Like it just gets more solid, and you just keep getting better and better. And I'm excited for your family to also be able to witness something so beautiful happening right before their very eyes after such a long time of not being there in that way that you probably want to show up. Even though you're showing up as best that you could, it was still, I'm sure, not what you envisioned as having relationship with your children through, you know, or your wife.
Right.
Okay. And then, so I feel like we've kind of talked about this too, but would you say now, I love this question, but I also struggle with answering it sometimes, but it's like, do you feel that you're fully healed, or are you in remission? Because I know often people are like, oh, it's only in remission. I'm like, no, I'm fully healed. I'm not going back to where I came from. Like there's no going back.
Right.
How do you look at that? And do you feel that you're fully healed now? I know you said you have a little bit of lingering symptoms, but sometimes I think symptoms can be there without, but you're fully healed, if that makes sense.
Right. So my concept and idea behind this is that I will always be healing. In a sense that not to say that I'm constantly fighting an infection, that I will always have a healing routine and I will never give that up, because as a human, obviously there's all these environmental factors and stuff like that. I will never say that I am sick, that I still have Lyme disease, and I will not even say that I'm in remission. I won't use that term, because I believe that there's power and energy behind every single word that we say. So when I say that I'm constantly healing, I'm constantly evolving as a human. I'm becoming a better version of myself, but knowing that my level of self-care is always going to have to be a priority in my life. I'm not going to be able to go back out and start drinking and living a crazy lifestyle. Not that I'm 43. It's not that I desire that, but it's not like I'm going to be able to go out after work and throw back shots and wake up in the morning. No, I know that I will forever have to take care of my body and I want to, I want to eat healthy. I want to make sure that I'm doing what's right for me. I want to make sure that I have meaningful connections in my life, that I don't invest energy into vampires that are just going to suck out of me, and, being mindful of who's in my circle. So that's what I say. Like, I will always be healing. I don't really dive into the remission thing or anything like that, because I think that, then we get in, like, what if I get another virus? I try not to ever focus on that. I just tell myself, and I tell people in the class, you will always be a healing being on a healing journey. And I think that it's a beautiful thing, because at that point we are always taking care of our body. We're always making our health a priority. And, the goal is longevity in life, making sure that we're doing what's possible to live. So I've honestly kind of shed, we say that we're healing, but I've shed like the Lyme thing. Like, I don't associate with Lyme disease at all. I'm never going to get my labs redrawn or anything like that to see what my levels are or anything like that. I just don't attach myself to Lyme disease, to any of the diagnoses that I've ever had. Just because I don't think that it's productive to my healing. And when I say that I'm constantly healing, I mean, there's trauma, stuff from the past that it's an ongoing thing, but my ultimate goal is to live a long, healthy life. And I think in order to do that, I am going to always be on a healing journey. Now, does that mean I'm always healing from illness? No, it doesn't. I think that it's a level of self-care that I'll always maintain, because I don't ever want to go back to whatever that is. But that is always behind me. I'm not going to wear it on my shoulder like it's looming. And I don't do this self-care and constant healing so that I don't fall back. It's because I want to become a better person, because I want to live longer, because I know that ultimately that if I stay in this state of homeostasis and healing, that, my body's going to thank me for it. So yeah, I definitely don't attach to the labels of remission or anything like that. I will say that I am very mindful of getting sick with anything else or anything like that, just because I don't ever want anything to be re-triggered, but it's not something that I'm constantly ever going to obsess on. If someone asks, what's going on with your Lyme disease, I was like, I don't associate with that. I believe that, my body had a pathogen, my immune system knows what it's doing. I've put my body in an optimal state to heal, and it's done its job. And that's kind of my mindset, and I'll maintain that mindset. So
yes, I subscribe to that as well. And I don't really look at it as like I've got Lyme anymore, or it's gonna reflare or come back. Like, I'm better and it's good and I'm through that. If something else happens, I've got a lot better of a toolbox to deal with it, and it'll be a lot different of a process as well. So I'm not like, I don't have fear really either, and I think that helps a lot to have a different perspective and association with that. And then I was just kind of chugging down some notes, but it's like the healing routine. I look at that a lot too. And with Ayurveda, that's what I study and that's what I kind of follow, is it is a healing journey, and it is a healing routine that you're going to be doing for the rest of your life, but it's going to change because we're going to be in different seasons and different phases, and things are going on in our body. And I deal with my clients who are like, what I'm doing used to work. And it's like, well, what you were doing used to work for your body then, but your body now isn't your body then. And so your body now needs something different. And that's why it's yelling at you. So we've got to make some changes and adjustments. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with making changes either. And I think sometimes people get caught up in that thought of like, I must do it like this. And it's hard when you're sick. You're like, find something that works, but you have to, I think, also keep in mind to give yourself the space to allow that fluidity of change to happen as you're going through things, and you get a better grasp on things. And you know, it isn't a linear thing. I look at it almost like layers of static around a being, and we slowly remove those layers of static. We become smoother, and we become calmer, and our energy just becomes more solid. And so there will be some lingering things, of course, always within that, but hopefully we never go back to that full frantic state of full static that we were at when we were so, you know. And so you just keep working at that process to just refine and smooth, and it's always going to be that ongoing thing. It's never going to be completely smooth, but that's okay. Life would be boring, I think, if it was.
No, you're right. It would be, definitely.
And it makes it a lot harder to commit to routine, I think, when things are like completely good. But that's also something I'm kind of curious with where you are at right now. Do you find that it is an adjustment, in a sense, going from being so sick to being well? And how are you processing those emotions? Like, I found that a little bit daunting. Was like, I often think of the equation or like the visualization of when I learned how to water ski, right? Like, it was so hard for me to get up, but I also learned on a pontoon boat, which I don't recommend. I was like going so hard to get up, and then I get there and it was so easy that I would just fall over again. And it's that sort of analogy I've got where it's like I tried so hard and I was constantly like in survival mode, and then you switch over to being a normal human or regular human, and you almost like fall over because it's too easy, and it's like you're questioning every step along the way too, like, really, like, this is what it's supposed to be like? Okay, I didn't. Do you have thoughts about this? Is this something that you've encountered or you're feeling at all?
Feeling like, you know, what are my feelings during the whole healing process? It's,
or like just like, are you have you thought about, is there any kind of adjustment period for you? Are you having any trouble adjusting back into being a regular person? Do you have like any kind of like survivor's guilt either? That's a whole other topic, but
I'll be honest with you, as I've gone through this, it's literally what I call this is my cocoon stage. Like, I've literally gone into a cocoon, and after being sick for so long, I feel no guilt. Like, I don't feel guilty for the people that I've left behind. I don't feel like I've suffered for so long to such a grand level. Like I said, I had neuropathy. I was in a wheelchair. Like, I'd had so many years of my life taken away, almost half my life. And when I found this, am I happy all the time? No, because I find that because, like I said, healing's not linear. It's not like you do all these things and bam, you're better. But it's we grew so good at wearing a mask for when we were ill, like, hey, how you doing? Oh, I'm hanging in there. Or, you know, you put it. Now I'm wearing a mask as if I'm healthy because I'm faking this until I completely make it. So if I feel depressed or whatever, I'll process that, but I'm never going to ruminate on it. I'm not going to allow it to drag me back down. So when that happens, I'll either meditate, I'll tap, I'll use some sort of visualization, but I'll pull myself back to the positives and look at how far that I've come. And in the process, understanding that my emotions dictate how I'm physically going to feel. So knowing that I am the only one that's responsible for those emotions and making sure that I keep those in check. So even if I'm not happy, I'm going to find something that's going to make me happy, because that's the state that I need to be in to heal. I know that if I start to tilt the scales towards depression or anxiety or whatnot, it quickly can encompass my whole being. And next thing you know, I've unraveled months of work. And I've seen it, you know, I'll have a great week where I'm doing good and just intrusive thoughts. And, you know, I might be having some symptoms or whatnot. And it's like literally puts its hands around my throat and starts choking me out. And I have to come to the realization that it's temporary, that these thoughts don't serve me, that it's okay to process normal human emotion. But at the same time, I spent so many years being depressed and whatnot. Even the thought of getting back to that state makes me want to vomit. So I know it's pretty explicit, but I don't know if that answers the question.
I think I appreciate that discussion, but I think what I'm trying to get at is like, you had said earlier, you're like overcommitted now, like you've got too much happening. And
Yeah.
so what I'm thinking about is like, there's so much energy and force going into fixing yourself and getting better. And then you're like able to turn off your jets a little bit when you're not so sick anymore and fighting for your life. And so that's more of what I mean. Like, how are you finding that adjustment? And I feel like I still have all that energy and that force to like heal myself. But I'm putting it elsewhere now. Like, it's just, I don't know. I don't really know how to explain this better. Like,
So like, how am I prioritizing my healing with everything still going on?
no, it's just like all my life force energy went towards healing. And
Right.
now I don't have to put all of my life force energy towards healing because I've got the ability to go out and have fun or go to hang out with friends, or I can have a conversation and I can actually like remember things that I'm talking about, or, you know, just get up and live my life. And so I don't have to have all that energy so much intently focused, and to figure out how to apply it elsewhere to other things, I think was hard for me. Because I just didn't know how to diversify myself more, I guess, is a better way of putting it. And so then I would find that I was like overcommitting myself to everything because I just was so used to going so hard and so fast at fixing myself that I didn't know how to not have a different type of speed or energy.
Yeah, I understand now. I think so for me, it's kind of, you know, trying to understand the ebbs and flows of this. Like, I still would say that probably 80% of my energy is trying to be focused on healing. Like, because I'm still, I don't want to say in the infancy stages, like 3rd month, I'm still there, but a lot of my energy still has to be invested into healing because I'm still undoing 17 years of toxic thought patterns, rituals, habits. Actually, I had a panic attack inside the grocery store yesterday, but it was how I handled it that, and I hadn't had one in like 8 months, but it was how I handled it that made it differently. So normally when it happens, the lights are bright, you know, you feel like the world's closing in on you, your chest is tight, you're going to pass out, you're going to die. I ran out of the grocery store, I dropped my groceries, and I go out on the bench. I'd walk there, so the grocery store is walking distance from my house, and I walk as much as possible. And I went out and I sat on the bench and I kind of put my face in my hands. I was like, all right, and I promise you, I'll answer your question, this isn't a tangent. If I allow myself to go home and not go back in that store, then I'm reaffirming my body's fear response that it's acting correctly, that by me running, there's danger in there. I'm reaffirming that. So I set a timer on my phone for 2 minutes. I was like, all right, I was going down the chemical aisle and I was diagnosed with multiple chemical sensitivity, which I think is just something that happens when your nervous system's dysregulated, that you can't process these things. Because a healthy me can walk down there and I don't have any problems. A dysregulated Josh can walk down there and think that I'm dying from all these chemicals. So I set a timer for 2 minutes, and not that I'm saying people should go expose themselves to chemicals. I'm not saying that at all. I still use clean toothpaste, clean, deodorant, all that. But I set a timer for 2 minutes on my phone. I told myself I needed to go sit in that aisle for 2 minutes. So I literally sat my ass down, Indian style, in the middle of the aisle of Publix. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to sit here. If something's going to happen, let it happen. And I allowed the feelings, the sensations to pass through. And I got back up and I grabbed my groceries that I dropped and I went to check out. And there was an 80-year-old lady. I see her every single day. She's hunched over. She's the sweetest lady ever. She's got an oxygen tank hooked up to her. And I'm sitting here looking at this lady like she's sitting here smiling, scanning groceries on an oxygen tank. And I'm running out of the chemical. I was like, perspective. And I went back, but I realized in all this that I still need to, weigh my scales more on the parts of keeping energy on the side of healing and making it a priority, and not overexerting myself on coaching basketball, on doing all these projects. So the way that Joe and I work on this is we don't push or pressure ourselves. We work when we feel compelled or inspired. We don't ever want the stress of deadlines or corporate America, which we both came from, to ever come down on our healing. So yeah, I think that a large part of my energy still is invested. And I do believe that eventually I'll get to a point where the scale comes back this way and it's more fun and I won't have to do that. But right now, my sole focus is just kind of healing and understanding that doing stuff is healing, but not trying to overtax myself. I hope I answered it a little bit better there.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's a very good answer. And it's just cool in a sense to see where you are at in your journey. And then, think about that in like a year, what your answer will be differently.
Right.
And like, I don't know, I am at the place now where I'm finally like, like, I finally feel like I can just breathe for a minute. My body's finally like fully relaxing. My being is truly being able to just be. And it's taken a long time to get to the place where I finally like, okay, it's okay. You can just be okay for a minute. And that's been years now since I've really technically been better. So
that's awesome. How long was your process of, well, how severe were you? I'm just curious for my own thing. I know it's your podcast, but how severe were you and how long did it take you to get to a point where you felt like you were living a normal life again?
I was like, mine was a lot more neurological. I don't know if it was the Bartonella potentially that made mine much more neurological, but my brain was broken. And so it took 7 years, but by about the 7th year, I was having a lot of like heart palpitations. I lost the hearing in my left ear. I had no coordination. I was so dizzy. I think that's what ultimately pushed me back to a doctor was I would turn my head when I would drive and I would get so dizzy that I thought I was going to crash and hit someone else and kill someone else. So that I couldn't handle the thought of killing someone else. I was like, I got to go and figure out what is going on with me. But I mean, I definitely thought it was a brain tumor. And then it's been 5 years since that. So, and it is a continuous journey of healing too. Like I had other things happening with my cervix. I almost had cervical cancer and that I fixed all that through the Lyme stuff, but I had no immune system. Like we know what happens to us, and so that all kind of shot out, but now that's fully fixed too as of this past December. And so that was forever and a day that took to fix, but it's done now and I'm grateful. And but again, that I think was the final hurdle I needed to get myself through to finally just be like, okay. And I mean, I still have some things to iron out, I still have some wrinkles, some kinks. We always will, but
right. For the most part, like you're living a pretty cool life now though.
Yeah. And like what you say is like, you've got a better perspective. You've got a better toolkit. You've developed yourself more. You've done the inner work with your anxiety attack, like your panic attack. You knew like, okay, I acknowledge what's happening in my body. I see this for what it is. I know what this is now, and I'm going to deal with it differently because you've given yourself the space to do that. You've given yourself the tools to do that. And that's all we can hope for is just the continuous evolution of figuring out how to do it better, how to be in a more optimal space. I think overall with inner peace, right? I think if we're all in a good, true, optimal space of inner peace, dis-ease doesn't happen. Kinks don't really happen because we are there. And to get to that is just continuous work and
right.
trying, poking and figuring yourself out and listening to yourself and doing something about the information that you hear your body telling you as well.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Cool. Well, I feel like that's pretty much it. I would like to just ask one final thought, if you could, in your best way, just give some words of advice or encouragement to those who are still finding their way, although I think this entire time you've done that, but do you have any final thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think that, for anybody out there, whatever the chronic illness you're struggling with, or maybe you don't even have a chronic illness and you're just struggling in life, anxiety, depression, I think that it all kind of groups together that you don't need to give up hope. I'd given up hope. Well, and I'm using the term hope. You don't need to give up. You definitely, there is a possibility of getting better. And I believe that everybody can change their life, be it, whatever it is you're suffering with. And I think that so much of it, in healing, Western medicine looks at, top down here. So whereas we're talking about let's heal this and then allow this to heal this. And, whether you're stuck in your house or you're working and you don't know how you're making it through the day, or you don't know how you're going to make it through the week, ultimately it comes with pushing a pause button in your life and learning to let go and putting healing as a priority, and understanding that, you know, no one's coming to save you. I say this all the time, and it's one of the biggest things. There is nobody that's going to come pull you off the couch. There's no magic pill. There's no miracle treatment. You've literally got to do the work. But when you do the work and you begin to see the change and you begin to see a new life come to you, there's nothing more beautiful than that. And there is nobody that is too far gone to experience joy and gratitude in life, and just an overwhelming sense of gratefulness for life. And that ultimately is the spark inside of us that begins the healing. And then you start doing the brain rewiring and all that happens from that. But once we have that fire in us to live a passion towards something in life, and everybody, you know, we get people in the class that say, oh, you know, I'm not sure what it is that I'd like to do in life. All right, well, get your ass down there and start meditating on creating a future and something that you would love in your life, and then begin to meditate on it day and night, and then start moving towards it, and watch your life literally change as you break down barriers in your life. So, I mean, we've seen people that were living in their garage, their parents' garage at 55 years old, leave their garage in a month, start getting better, start a business, and the business start thriving. And like, she was in dire straits. I mean, she would get on the class every single week and cry her eyes out. And when she decided that she committed to her healing, and it's not some super complicated routine, you know, with the boot camp, all we do is we assist people on their journey. We present the toolbox. We don't overcomplicate it. We tell you how to use the tools, and then you essentially have to decide whether you're going to use them or not. The prison that we're in with chronic illness, with anxiety, or being stuck in life, literally, we're holding the key and we're sitting inside the prison. We have to choose to unlock and open the gate. Nobody's going to do it for us. So
that's awesome. Thank you. And then just for people's knowledge, if they're interested in finding you, what's the best way to do that? I know I follow you on Instagram and we're friends on Facebook, but
yeah. So our Instagram page, all of our social medias are at The Healing Dudes. Our website is thehealingdudes.com, that has information about all of our one-on-one sessions. We tend to do a lot more group. But yeah, all of our information's up on the website. We have a free webinar that's coming up in the next month and a half, where we are going to explain everything. We don't feel like, you know, only the privileged people with money should be privy to this information. So we want to be able to get it out to as many people as possible. If there are people that want to do the class that are not financially able, we do offer scholarships. So we don't want anybody to feel like they're excluded from healing. We understand that, you know, battling chronic illness, you can become broke and things can become expensive. Not to say that there isn't value in the class. And, you know, we've had our problem has been being too nice, and we'll have half of our class comp in. We feel that when people invest their money into something, they're more likely to invest their time and energy into it. So, but if someone's struggling and they're absolutely at dire straits, we're so open to helping them. We don't turn anybody away. So
yeah, and I only laugh because I struggle much with the same with my services, and I'm like, okay, I know how expensive it is for people to fix themselves. And like, I mean, I had to get a different job. I was working 2 jobs, and that was hard to do because I was so sick. And like, it's hard. It's really freaking hard, and there's no help, you know. So I struggle with that, and I have a good job, so it's like I don't need the money, but I get that there's a lot of to be said when people are putting that value in, right? It's an energy exchange, and you can't give it for free. Like there's a lot more commitment. There's a lot more to be said. And I think also, not that it's not about the money, it's about the energy. And when I was healing, like I freely gave money, like not freely, but like I happily gave it to that person because I knew it was going to help me. And I knew that I was saying to the universe in that I was committed to my healing, and that here is my commitment to that. And that's sometimes what I think it signifies too. So, but yeah, but keep doing that. It's a fine line and fine thing to balance, but you're doing a great job. And I again applaud both of you. And Joe, if you can hear me back there, kudos to you both for what you're doing and the value that you're providing to people. I believe in it very much. So thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Like I said, continue on this path. Like just like I said, you have no sometimes we don't realize just who we're helping. And like I said, you know, watching your journey publicly was a big part of me deciding, hey, look, you know, you need to do this, you can heal. And like I said, I've gone back multiple times and looked at our messages from the past, and where I frantically ask you, okay, what did you do? What was the silver bullet? And it always comes back to the work. You know, when people are willing to do the work, when they're willing to believe in what they're doing, I think that it's a powerful thing. So thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. My pleasure, truly. Keep going. We can watch each other and have fun. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you.
All right. Take care.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Sounds good, Josh. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.